accident, I could have lost my life or broke my, let's say all these things happen. It would be as a result of that person, refusing to wait for a few seconds, and not only that, refusing most of all to obey the law and the instruction given. She'd been told, she'd been taught of all these things. Now, being prideful, instead of recognizing what she did was wrong, now she came along and now to double down on it, as if like I was the one doing something wrong. Now, if you understand this analogy right here, there are two things I want to tell you. Number one, a lot of you are going to do exactly what this lady did to me. When I start teaching this lesson, you're going to start telling me what's wrong about me. You're going to keep talking about, or leave you alone, or because now I'm a hater. I'm this, I'm that. Instead of seeing the reality of our situation in this 21st century, especially here in this country, United States of America, what we're doing with our lives, how we're destroying our life, how we destroy our family because of a preference that we want to live in this life. You're going to leave that alone, you're going to start attacking me. The reason I'm saying because it has done before, it's been done before. That's what people do. They don't like to be called out about anything they're doing wrong. This is the reason why you see the politicians, they lie so much, because when you call them out about something, instead of accepting what they're doing wrong, what they do? They start trashing you. They tell the media is wrong. They tell you that you're reporting bad things. They tell you that you're fake news. All the crazy stuff they can come with. You know what I'm saying? Even at home, you see that too. When you do something, husband and wife or kids, they call out about something, they start finding someone else to blame for the situation. But you know what? You can rest assured, I got good news for you. Because all the things I'm going to tell you, you're going to find somebody to blame for this. You're going to find someone to blame for all this. You follow? So that means wait, be patient, and you're going to find out what I'm talking about. Be filled with all unrighteousness. Unrighteousness should not be part of our lives. It's because of the fact that we have made a wrong turn somewhere in our lives, or maybe somebody did it, and then we follow them and put them in a situation where now we are talking about this. You know that what I'm talking about. I know a lady that I used to work with, a co-worker of mine for many years. She's a heavy smoker. But every time she felt like she's sick, she's coughing a lot, she's having trouble breathing, that kind of stuff. She always have fevers, she always this and that. Every time she never wanted to go to the hospital. She never wanted to go see her doctor. And then she said this to me. She said, I know exactly what's going on with me. I said, what's going on with you? He says, I know that I'm sick. And she said, I may have cancer. I may have lung cancer. I said, would you want to find out and so you can have some treatment and everything? He said, no, because ever since I was 14 years old, that's what she said, 14 years old, I have been smoking. And then that time we were talking, she was in her early 60s. So this must have been for like 15 or 18 years past now. So that means she may still be around, but she may not be still, because I haven't seen her for that from the last time, 18 or 15 years back. She said, I would not go to the doctor or not go to the hospital. Why? Because I'm afraid they're going to tell me that I have cancer, and I don't want to hear it. These were her words. Sorry, I'm having trouble to get those words out. These were her words. I do not want to go to the hospital. I don't want to go see my doctor because I don't want the doctor to tell me that I have cancer. So therefore, I love smoking. I'm going to continue smoking until I die. That's what she said. See, people have that tendency. They don't want to be called out. They don't want to be reprimanded. They don't want to be, exalted. I'm sorry. They want to be doing their things the way they want to do it, whether good or bad, and it's not your business. Don't put your nose where it don't belong. That's what they tell you. My friend, I have bad news for you. This is also my concern. When you cry about the climate change, we're talking about, situation about the environment, you're part of the problem. You follow what I'm saying? You're part of the problem too. You understand? If I don't smoke, you smoke around me. So because you smoke, I should tolerate you blowing smoke in my face? Or should I say something? Oh, you might say, okay, why don't you just get out of the area? Most of the time, that's what I do. Because I'm not going to fight with people by telling them, okay, start smoking, because they won't listen to me anyway. But it doesn't negate the fact that I should be talking about that smoking is wrong. You follow what I'm saying? Just because people don't listen, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be talking about something that's wrong. We got to be talking about it, because eventually some people might listen. And then you're going to see the change happening. A lot of people, what they want to see happening, they want to do the bad things, the things out there. As long as there's something like a medicine or maybe a doctor that can help them with their things. Instead of saying, okay, listen, my friend, what you're doing right here, you need to change it. Those doctors, they tell you that. When you go to them, they see that there's increase of weight. They said, okay, now you have an increase of this. Your cholesterol is that point, that your blood pressure that point, your blood sugar that point. The doctors caution you about your lifestyle, what you're doing. Okay? So now it is up to you to listen to what the doctor says in order for you to see the result. Some of you take that in consideration. You make an effort, you can see that. All the parks that are here in this country, you see people walking around every day, throughout the day, even sometimes at nighttime. They do the jog, they go to the gym, they even, being a member of a certain type of gym around the country. Why? Because for some reason they understand if they do not do that, then worse is going to happen. So they're taking steps about, to take care of themselves health-wise. I think it's the same principle. That's what I've been talking about all along. When it comes to spirituality, to spiritual things, there are things they're not here. They're not improving your life. They're destroying life. It's not about you, my friend. It's about two things. It's about what's being said from the beginning. Remember, I told you this. There's not a thing in this earth that you brought in. Everything that's in there, they've already been here before you came. So you're the one who's trying to change what's been in place. That's number one. And second of all, it's about all of us. When you do something stupid, when you do something bad, when you do something that is not right, it affects the life of our planet, including us. Do you follow? So it's important that we talk about those things. It's good to talk about, what kind of thing that you should eat, what you should not eat if you are a person who have high cholesterol. It's a good thing, too, to talk about spiritual thing, the way you live in your life, the lifestyle you want to keep. It affects our society. It affects also our life in this planet. It's not about you, my friend. It's about you. It's not about you. It's about all of us. People who go in the army, they know that. They understand that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview of it. They understand that. You will never see a person, unless there's one that's belligerent, that is really out of order. And then there are consequences that come after, because you know that. Okay? The dishonor will be discharged. People in the army, or whatever branch of military they go to, they all follow the chain of command. They follow the rules. When they go to the battlefield for war, it's not about one person. It's about all together collectively trying to execute a mission in order to win. Though they know there's going to be casualty in both sides. But they're all trying to follow this. The person who is the captain, the person who's in charge, who's the leader, everybody follow his command. My goodness, my friend, our commander-in-chief is God Almighty. We need all to follow what He says. It doesn't matter whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether whatever. It is all for all of us. We did not create this planet. Matter of fact, you didn't even choose who's supposed to be your dad, who's supposed to be your mother. It was not depending on you. You didn't have that faculty to do that, even if you wanted to. So how come you come down here and trying to change things for all of us by the way you want to live it? It's not about you. Don't ask the question, leave you all alone, or what was that to do? That's not your business. It is my business, my friend. Just like if I do something right, it affects you in a positive way. When you do something wrong, it affects all of us in a negative way too. It's not about you. Now, we're talking about this, all right? The alternate lifestyle that I'm referring to is none other than the one that we've seen happening in our midst, known as homosexuality. No. Now, the question is, what is homosexuality? Now, this is where it becomes a little bit interesting. Because right now, like I always said, I go to Google and ask Google, what is homosexuality? Because I don't want to bring my own definition to you. I just want to hear the definition that you guys put out there. You follow? So that means I am going to use your own definition about what you say. Because I think Google is the one that tells everybody now what is this, what is not. Google says homosexuality is a pattern of sexuality in which sexual behavior and thinking are directed towards people of the same sex. Now, this is what I love about Google, right? It tells you something, and then it's kind of like a riddle. You got to take another one again to break it down to see exactly the meaning of what's behind, because nothing really makes sense. What does that mean? A pattern of sexuality. Now it gives you another word that you don't even know what that is. What is sexuality? A lot of people think they know what that is, but in reality they don't. Okay, it says a pattern of sexuality. Now you're going to see exactly what Google is talking about when it says that. In which sexual behavior, what are you talking about? Sexual behavior, what is that? And thinking are directed toward the person or people or the same sex. So that's what he thinks sexuality is. So now let me ask you a question though. So if anybody or a man or a woman just sit there thinking about something like that, so therefore you become homosexual right there? If you think a man, you think about kissing another man, therefore you become homosexual right there. Well, although the idea of kissing another man can be viewed as, appalling, I can understand that. But does just that thing qualify somebody to be called homosexual? That's the question. Now, let's define the word sexuality according to Google again. Google says sexuality is about your sexual feelings. I love those things. Listen, I'm not making fun of this thing. I'm just trying to understand the things that he's saying here. Not making fun of anybody or of anything. That's not the idea. It says it's about your sexual feelings. Number 2, about your thoughts. Number 3, about your attractions. And number 4, about your behaviors toward other people. So whatever thinking you have in your mind, that's what your sexuality is. That's what Google says. I just don't have any words. And then he continues and says, you can find other people physically, sexually, or emotionally attractive. And all those things are part of your sexuality. Then he says sexuality is diverse and personal, and it is an important part of who you are. In other words, anybody can define what is or what her sexuality is. They don't need Google to tell you that, because Google gives you like kind of like a platform so you can use and then come up with your own definition. That's what he's saying here. It's about your sexual feelings. Remember, when you see feelings, depends on the way you feel, that's your sexuality. The way you thought, your thoughts are, your attractions and your behavior toward other people. That's your sexuality. So in other words, you see what's being left out here? There is no gender there. They don't care about whether you're male, they don't care about if you're female. So your sexuality, whatever you think it is, regardless of this. But what about if it's talking about also, excuse me, that term, but I got to use it, because it's going to come to this. Because anybody can define their sexuality however he or she wants. What if that person has a thought and feeling and behavior toward a monkey, or toward a donkey, or toward a horse, toward a cow, toward anything else, a car, you know what I mean, a house, all these things has nothing to do with people. It has to do with feelings, the thoughts that you have. But even if it says to other people, but it's so vague right here. What if my same thoughts, or your same thoughts, is not toward people, it's toward something else? Would you consider this as your sexuality? That's a question you should ask there. Because people are trying to avoid the reality, the truth that is there. They're trying to avoid, they come up with their own way. You see, this is what happened now. Let me continue on, because if I keep talking, I'm going to get away from the lessons, and then we lose the whole thing. So let me continue on now, okay? We're going to get back to the word homosexuality, but let's continue with the sexuality of the things. Yeah. Now, this is the progressive mind, what Google is saying here, progressive mind, okay? The progressive idea of this generation. It is a behavior that came to be tolerated among our peers. This idea of your sexual feelings, however you want to describe it, it is almost a rendezvous that every day, which seems like that someone is coming out of the closet, meaning something that was behind the closed door now is revealed to the world to know about it, to talk about it, to live it openly. Now, this is the thing right now. When I say this is, is that a bad thing? Yeah, you should applaud it, because now something was doing in the dark, not everybody can see you doing it. That's where they're going. This is the progression they're doing. They're coming from some place where it was dark. Okay, something that they would not allow anybody to find out. And then now the progression is taking place. They're moving toward the light, but not the light to be corrected, not the light to be actually beautiful, but the light to be accepted as such. Dark, vile, different, to be accepted, to be tolerated, even as bad as evil it may be. That's what they're talking about. Moving from that place of the closet, coming out, coming slowly, and then eventually it's out there. Everybody can see it now. I don't have any shame now anymore. I don't feel embarrassed about this. It's okay. You can call me that way. Matter of fact, I invite you to come into my wedding. We're going to celebrate. See, that's exactly what they're talking about here. And it is happening right now in our 21st century. You understand? But by the way, I think in this case, when we're talking about the progression here, or someone comes out of the closet, celebrates. This is what the person is celebrating. They never tell you this, but this is what they're celebrating. Celebrates the bravery of accepting himself or herself for who he or she is in that context, regardless of the critics out there who think otherwise. The celebration is about the act of bravery, but not the lifestyle itself. Because I can guarantee you right now, if you go to a place, or if you go to a late night talk show on television, and somebody just announced to the public, like a big star, or maybe celebrities, or any type. Nobody knew that about them. They suspect, because nobody dare to say things like that until that person say. That person say, "Bang!" They say, "Now, I just want to let you know, I'm out now. I just want to let you know that I'm out now." And everybody in the audience clap. And even people sitting remotely can clap. But you know what happened, my friend? When they clap there, they're not clapping because of what that person telling them. They're clapping because of the act of the bravery. That person takes a step to let people know what he or she has been doing all along. That's what they're clapping about. The reason being because deep down, nobody, if you were to give a preference, asking, if you were to actually give a survey toward the country, ask people around, ask them, if you were to check the box, would you prefer, I'm being truthful to you guys, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Parents, they know what I'm talking about now. Would you prefer, let me put in the parents now to see what happens. Would you prefer your kids to live righteously, or would you prefer your kids to live unrighteously? Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about exactly what I'm talking about here, about homosexuality. Would you prefer your child to live a life of homosexuality, a lifestyle that way, or would you not prefer that he or she lives that way? See what box they would check. You follow what I'm saying? So now when you clap, or when they clap, they're not clapping because of the lifestyle. They're clapping because of the bravery. Because that person takes a step to say, okay, I'm fully now aware that who I am. That's what they would say. That's the speeches. And then, well, right now I want you to accept me too. In other words, I want you to tolerate this. But it's okay. We can talk about this. It's not anything. I'm not mad at anybody. You understand? And I don't think the person who come out telling them that they're homosexual, they're bad people for that. No, they're not. That's not the point. They're not bad people at all. Matter of fact, I have known some people who are homosexual. They are the nicest people I've ever met. They're very kind, very generous, very also courteous. They're very respected people. They're not dumb. They have they're much of a highly educated. It's just they have a lifestyle. So now you're asking what's wrong with that. It's not about what's wrong with that. Now the question is what's right with that. Ask that question too. What's right with that? You understand what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I wrote a book. In this book, I'm going to introduce to you too, right here. It's got this in there, and I asked the question. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we get into the lesson, deeper in the lesson. How does homosexuality help society? I'd love for somebody to answer that question. I never had anybody answer the question. How does, homosexuality help society? Just like if you had to ask the question, how does water help society? And then we know a lot of answers about that. But how does it help society? I'm not talking about the person. I'm talking about the behavior. How does he help? You follow? So, but right now we're not answering that question, but in passing, because we were right there, I just asked the question just to tempt you. And then think about that. Okay? So now, like I said, the clapping, the applaud is not for the act itself, the lifestyle. It's for the bravery, the person who stands, and then that's what they're clapping. They have nothing to do with that person. Did you see they send them gift after that for doing what you're doing? I'm so glad that you're doing something, you're contributing to the society by being a homosexual. No, you don't see that. They clap because that person takes a step to show how brave he or she is to tell the world, this is what I'm doing now. Something they've been doing behind closed doors. You follow? Now, the question that we must ask, why should they be concerned about the critics say about them? Why should they be concerned about what the critics say about them? All right? I think because fundamentally they know deep down there is something wrong with the lifestyle. Not simply for the public eyes, but for themselves as individuals. They know that. Because the fact of the matter is, why do they need to tell people about it? You follow what I'm saying? If it's already okay, so they will not have the need to announce it to people if it's already okay. If it's somebody that is fundamentally all right, then you don't need to go to a talk, talk show or television program to let people know, or maybe go on Twitter or go on Facebook, whatever how the means you use to let people know about it, if it's already all right. See, like myself right now, I don't need to go around and sound the trumpet, say, hey, listen, everybody, I'm married to a beautiful woman, and blah, 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 and then start describing. I don't do that. You know what I mean? But it's always those who are practicing something that is not okay. We're going to explain what I mean by that. Don't try to chop my head up because I say, okay, what's wrong with it? No, there's nothing wrong with the person. But there's something wrong with the life, the lifestyle. That's what we're talking about here. We're attacking anybody. We're attacking you. Just like if you go to the doctor, it tells you there's something that's not working in your system. And they tell you, man, it's stage 4. We cannot fix it. So what are you going to do right now? You're going to kill the doctor for telling you that? No, you're not going to kill the doctor. You accept the truth, and then doctor's going to make you feel comfortable, until, whatever happens. But you don't go after that and criticize the doctor, ask the doctor to lose his or her license because they tell you the truth about something that's going to kill you. You follow what I'm saying? So it's the same conversation, my friend, but a different context. There's nothing changed there. It's important that you understand that. Like I said, we all live in the same parcel of Earth, which is the planet Earth. It affects all of us. Whatever is wrong with one, it's wrong with all of us. Whatever is right with one is right with all of us. See? So now it's important to notice that these definitions just being read, you are in accordance with our present day. Perhaps these definitions may change another time, different contexts, different reasons. I'm sure right now, if you were to be, 20 years back or maybe a century back, like I said, homosexuality has been around for all the time. It's not something that's new to us, but it progresses, from one thing to another, you know what I mean? Because there was a time that we're not talking about marriage now. Now we're talking about this. There are times we're not talking about adoption, all these things, all these things happening. There are times we didn't talk about, sex change, now we talk about it because you see, it comes from one place and it progresses and then it kind of like, permeates in the society and then, they're doing things, they're progressing. That kind of stuff. So now when it comes to a subject like this one, homosexuality, people tend to be divided over it. Why? Which means it is not something that everybody is comfortable talking about. We know that in our society. If you go to a place, you ask somebody about a question about this, they tend to kind of like, you know what? That's not my business. Stay out of it. Why? Because people don't feel comfortable to talk about, but not necessarily, my friend. If you don't want to be a hypocrite here, not necessarily because they agree with that. You know what I'm saying? Not because also they're against it, not also because they condone it. But people are because both sides have opinions about these things. I think everybody seems to come with his or her own opinion about it. Or having certain reservation, for instance, not to upset, not to offend another who may be practicing homosexuality or may have a different view about the subject, or perhaps one who is completely and categorically opposed to it. We see that people out there, and we see how it is, even in this country and other places. I can tell you this: there are nations out there in the world that would never speak this thing openly. Everything like that, it's behind closed doors. It has been like that here in this country for many, many, many years. Until this administration come to place, the Obama administration comes into place, and then he gave this thing to a different meaning. Where now, so many years after that, we talk about it differently. You follow? I mean, there are people who have been killed over this thing, persecuted. I'm not talking about this is right. what they do to people. They should never have done anything like that. People are people. You follow? We may be misguided about certain things, but that doesn't mean we need to be careful over that kind of stuff. And then besides, this is kind of like I said at the beginning, this is personal. Okay? We can talk about it, but it's up to the person to realize whether or not this is something that they need to consider, or it's something that they need to live differently within the society. Just like I was talking about the lady, that was her choice. Even though seeing me coming on my right of way, driving down the street, she decided, I'm not going to stop, I'm going to just cut right through in front of you. You do whatever you can to stop your vehicle. For me, I'm going to do that. That's what we're talking about, the mindset, the idea behind it. But the fact of the matter is, the principle has been given. Not everybody listens to it. You know what I'm talking about. Not everybody sees a stop sign and stop when you're driving. But yet you still have the laws in place. Everybody go to the beach. When they tell them, okay, it's time to get out of the water, not everybody listen. There's somebody who always wants to go back again. Even the situation, it's so bad, it's so difficult, they still want to put other people's life in danger, and including his or her life. You know exactly what I'm talking about. This is a very touchy subject. I'm not here to bring shame to anybody whose tendency affirms such a relationship. I'm not here either to elevate another whose tendency is to abase or to denigrate such a one who practicing this behavior. Notice, talking about sexuality changes the real focus of our being and the purpose for which we were created. Whenever someone speaks about sexuality, it almost 100%, listen to this, whenever somebody speaks about sexuality, it is almost 100% in the context of to walk away or to deviate from the norms established concerning the truth of life itself, depending on what they come to adopt or perhaps believe regarding sexuality. I guarantee you that whenever somebody talks about sexuality, instead of accepting what's already established, remember, my friend, whoever you are practicing, whatever lifestyle you're practicing on this earth, right? Whenever somebody talking about sexuality, what you do? Instead of seeing what being established, which is the norm, the principle concerning how you should live in this life, what do? You try giving him all the reasons. You are like that. And as a matter of fact, you keep on going and say, oh, it's not my fault because I was born that way. Who told you that? I don't know. Where do you get that from? I do not know. Nobody was born. There's only two possibilities for people to be born at. Either you were born a male or you were born a female. Now you said this is biology. My friend, what we're talking about here all the while, we're talking about biology. We're not talking about anything else. This is also physiology. That's what we're talking about. How many times you see two spirits having sexual intercourse? You've never seen that. As a matter of fact, if two spirits are around, how can you see them? Because it will be invisible to your eyes. So all